Hi friends, it's Mrs. Van, and Rudy has joined us. He's going to chew his bone while he listens to Chapter 12 of Guest by Mary Downing Hahn. Let's begin. Behind us, my dog stepped out of the woods almost as quietly, as quietly as Aislinn had vanished. Did I miss meeting a kind one just now? She came to help me. Help you? My dog stared at me. How many times will you let them fool you? Do you never learn? Don't be angry, my dog. I twisted the locket on its chain. It was Aislinn. Her mother is Duatha, whom I think you know. My dog's face flushed. I know them both. For the first time since I'd met him, he seemed lost for words. He simply stood there, looking past me at the woods where Aislinn had vanished. I telled Molly not to talk, Gus said, but she telled me hush. They maked a plan. A plan? My dog looked at me. Tell me all that Aislinn had to say. I took a deep breath to keep my voice from shaking. The kind folk mean to give Thomas to the Dark Lord as their tithe. I suspected that might be the way of it. Duatha came up with a plan to save us all. I wrapped the cloak around me. My dog cried out in surprise. I laughed and pulled the hood away from my face. It's Duatha's gift of invisibility. Gus scowled. I telled you no more kind folk tricks. And with that, he turned to his caterpillar, which had crawled out of its new home. You like leaf? You like grass? While Gus tried to feed the caterpillar, I described the plan. My dog listened closely, nodding, then frowning, then shaking his head, and then nodding again. It might work, he said slowly, but do you dare enter the circle by yourself? With no one to trust but Aislinn? I seized his arm. Please, my dog, tell me I can do this thing. You're a brave girl, Molly. If anyone can rescue Thomas, it's you. He got to his feet slowly. It's getting late. I'll light a fire and roast the rabbits I caught. Before we'd started eating, Aiden stepped out of the woods and joined us. The horses are fed and tethered, he said. While we ate, I had little to say. My mind was fixed on rescuing Thomas. Aiden seemed to be in a better humor and talked quietly with my dog about the horses. Guest moved closer and closer to my dog. When he was almost sitting in my dog's lap, he stared at him so hard that my dog finally noticed. What's on your mind, little lad? He asked. Are you truly my daddo? Truly? My dog laughed. Indeed I am, and glad am I to say it. Aiden's good humor vanished. He tossed what was left of his dinner into the fire and stood up. I'll see to the horses. And with that, he'd vanished into the woods. The horses greeted him with a chorus of whinnies, and he spoke to them in a pleasant voice I'd never heard him use. My dog sighed and took Guest onto his lap. Did Aislinn tell you? Yes, but she told Molly she was ashamed of me. My dog hugged him. Never you mind what Aislinn says, or Aiden either. Molly loves you, and so do I. Guest smiled. By the time Aiden rejoined us, it was almost dark. Guest had fallen asleep, and my dog and I were talking quietly. What's your plan for tonight? Aiden asked my dog. You know they'll come again to force this time. We'll have no company tonight, my dog said. It's the eve of tithe, and they have a wedding to attend. Aiden frowned. I believe it's their custom to celebrate weddings with the wild hunt. By then we'll be gone from here. Without the boy? How'd you get Molly to agree to that? Duatha sent her daughter with a plan to rescue Thomas. Aiden scoffed. Duatha. I want nothing to do with her or her plan. It's certain to be a trap. My dog shrugged. I trust Duatha. Muttering to himself, Aiden walked away again, and with his back to us, he stood silently at the edge of the forest. Getting to my feet, I wrapped myself in the cloak and tiptoed to his side. Clearly unaware of me, Aiden muttered about kind folk and changelings and treachery. Stop behaving like a half-wit mooncalf, I said. Aiden looked right at me. What sort of trick is this? I hear you, but I don't see you. I'm right here. I pulled the hood away from my face and laughed. In wonder, Aiden touched the cloak. This is kind folk stuff. Where'd you get it? Aislinn gave it to me. I'll use it to rescue Thomas. You are even more foolish than I thought. My dog took Aiden's arm and spun him around so they were face to face. Listen to me, Aiden. There is a plan, a good one. Though it's dangerous for Molly, she's agreed to it. After my dog explained, Aiden shook his head. You might be my father, but you're a fool to allow this girl to go anywhere near Aislinn. No one's asking you to go with me, I said. My dog put his hand on Aiden's shoulder. All you and I need to do is be ready to flee with Guest when Molly returns with Thomas. Aiden looked at his father in disbelief. Have you lost your wits? The kind folk will keep Thomas, and the wild hunt will capture us. Molly will spend her mortal days as a slave, and you and I will be tortured and killed, and the changeling will be left to die in the forest. My dog scowled at his son. Be quiet. No more of that talk. Duatha has bewitched you, for certain. Aiden's face reddened with anger. Leave these ones to their fate, and come home to my mother. She demands it. Bronan has no rights to give me orders. Aiden turned away and stood apart. The day's gray light faded into shadows, and the hoots of owls replaced the caws of crows and rooks. Gusts of wind swept through the trees and scattered the fire's coals. The dying flames lit the gleam of my dog's eyes, the thrust of his nose, and the line of his jaw. After covering Guest with a blanket, my dog said, I fear for you, Molly. You know, I must do it. I hugged my knees close to my chest and waited for Aislinn. And with every breath I drew, I told myself I'd rescue Thomas. We'd return to our cottage, and Mam and Dada would be happy again. The long, hard journey would end like a fairy tale with all of us, even Guest, living happily ever after. That's the end of that chapter. There's a few more chapters to go, so there's no happily ever after yet. I hope it wasn't too distracting to listen to Rudy chewing on his bone. So look forward to chapter 13, I believe is next. See if I'm correct. It is. 13, 14, 15, 16, and 17. So we have a few to go. I hope to get these on in the next few weeks so that you guys can read them. I'm looking forward to figuring out how this book ends. And Rudy and I miss you guys an awful lot. And we'll join you soon with the next chapter of Guest. Bye, everybody.